Hey everyone, Sigam here. In today's video, I will introduce you to a whole new lineup combination which has been teased since the release of Ashoka in Season 1, Tactician Pikemen. This army is powerful but tricky to access as two of its heroes are locked through the Mightiest Governor event, making it less accessible for free-to-plays and low spenders. That said, we'll explore a formation that only requires one MGE hero to make it a bit friendlier for most players. Tactician Pike are a very good 1v1 burst setup that will hit hard regardless of your strategy defense, as we'll see throughout this guide. Their offensive efficiency and 1v1 potential as well as solid sustain also make them a good choice for rallies. Let's see how to make them shine through hero combination, ring pairings, skills, gems and synergies. Let's dive in and start cooking. Our hero combination is Belisarius, Elizabeth I and Ashoka. Let's first start by saying that this formation is not free-to-play friendly at all to unlock. Ashoka is a Season 1 Mightiest Governor event hero and only reappears in Season 4, starting with the second MGE. Belisarius is a Season 4 Legendary Advent hero and Elizabeth is a Season 4 exclusive MGE hero. Surprisingly, despite the limited accessibility of the heroes, this lineup is actually less dependent on 5-star ranks compared to lineups like Rallies, for instance. You can perform quite well with just a 3-star Belisarius and Elizabeth and even a 1-star Ashoka, since they have decent power-ups unlockable at these ranks. Therefore, it might be interesting to let more players unlock Elizabeth in your servers, given that she can be effective even at low-star ranks. Tactician Pikemen really shine in 1v1 situations in Openfield, but they also perform well in rallies thanks to Belisarius' damage and Elizabeth's healing. They're also a great asset to have against Cyrus, thanks to their fast damage output potential and strategy damage. Even if this first section is more focused towards Openfield, the rally setups are pretty much the same, with only minor adjustments in rings and skill choices to further specialize the build. Before diving into the build differences, let's have a look at our heroes' skill sets. Belisarius' commander skill Eternal Eagle Flag deals strategy damage to up to 2 enemies and increases his secondary strike skill's activation chance by 5% for 6 seconds, which is a very valuable boost as it buffs both his signature and customizable skills. It's also worth noting that the skill's damage is nearly doubled if only one enemy is hit, making it effective in 1v1 scenarios. The first activation is also rather fast, starting with 100 initial rage out of the 250 required, emphasizing on Belisarius' burst potential and effectiveness in quick skirmishes. Belisarius' signature skill, Last of the Romans, RIP, is interesting. It deals good damage and every 3 signature skill activations, it will trigger a random equipped secondary strike customizable skill, while increasing its damage by 25%. We'll talk a bit more about this mechanic while reviewing our customizable skills later in our guide. It's also worth noting that this signature skill has very high base activation chance for a signature skill, sitting at 30%. Belisarius' ranks are fairly simple yet effective. His first rank is honestly a pretty big upgrade since it will increase his signature skill's activation chance by 5%, making it up to a total of 35%. Considering that we'll try to give the double attack stance to our Belisarius, this first rank significantly boosts his chances of triggering his signature skill, therefore resulting in more frequent activations of his customizable secondary strike skills. His third rank is by far the most impactful, as it reduces the number of signature skill activations required to trigger a customizable skill from 3 to 2. If you want to play Belisarius, I strongly advise you to aim for this rank. His 5th rank is a bit more negligible as it will increase the skill's damage by 30%, as well as increasing the damage of the triggered customizable skill by another 10%. While this is a decent damage boost, it's not essential at all. Belisarius is supported by Elizabeth I, who introduces 2 new mechanics to the game. Her passive signature skill Golden Age nullifies all recovery effects in your army except for her own assimilation effect. Assimilation is triggered every time a hero in your lineup deals damage, converting 5% of that damage into healing. This effect is not triggered by damage from passive skills like counterattacks. Her signature skill also passively increases the damage of your heroes by 15%, scaling with strategy. Finally, she gives a 30% chance for each attack to calculate damage against the enemy's lower defense value, either might resistance or strategy resistance. This is particularly effective against strategy-based heroes who tend to have high strategy resistance but very low might resistance. For example, let's say you're fighting an enemy like Rallies with 400% strategy resistance and 350 might resistance. Elizabeth's passive gives you a 30% chance that each of your attacks will calculate damage based on the lower 350% value instead of the higher 400%. This significantly increases your damage potential against targets who would otherwise be resistant to your strategy damage type. Her first rank is simply amazing, increasing Assimilation's damage conversion rate from 5% to 10%. Her third rank is also massive, since it adds a new passive. Every 2 assimilation effects triggered, your commander's next skill damage will be increased by 10%, scaling with strategy. This synergizes very well with Belisarius. Similarly to Belisarius, I would advise getting Elizabeth to 3 stars if you plan on using her. Her 5th rank increases her passive damage boost by 5% and increases the chance to calculate damage based on the enemy's lowest defense value by 5%. While this is not a bad upgrade at all, it's nowhere near close to her 1st and 3rd ranks. Our last hero here is Ashoka. Let's quickly review his kit. His signature skill Morion Glory passively increases your commander's secondary strike signature skill activation chance by 4%, scaling with both might and strategy. Every time your commander activates a secondary strike skill, Ashoka also grants you a 50% chance to enter the control immunity state for 3 seconds. His first rank unlocks a new powerful passive for his signature skill, as it will now increase your commander's secondary strike skill damage by 20%, which is massive for our Belisarius. His third rank will increase the trigger chance of the control immunity status by 35%, making it 85% in total. Ashoka's 5th star will boost the commander's signature skill activation buff by another 2%, raising it to 6% total, still scaling with both might and strategy. Both his ranks 1 and 5 are incredible, which is why Ashoka is really good at either one of these ranks. For mercenaries, we'll equip Roman Centurions, since Swiss Pikemen's damage buff doesn't apply to secondary strike skills anyway. Regardless, the Centurions offer a great damage buff to our Belisarius as well as a consistent damage reduction buff. Let's now have a look at our customizable skills. For Belisarius' skills, we'll play around his signature skill. We'll start by equipping his unique customizable skill, Conquering Iron Hoof, a very good DPS skill that gains 10% additional damage every time it's triggered, up to 40%. Because of that stacking mechanic, we want to activate it as often as possible to benefit from the extra damage. Remember that every 3 activations of Belisarius' signature skill, the last Romans will automatically trigger a random equipped secondary strike skill. For his second customizable skill, we'll take Double Attack, an active skill that will make Belisarius enter the double attack stance as well as increase his base attributes. Since Double Attack is an active skill and not a secondary strike skill, Double Attack cannot be triggered by Belisarius' signature skill. Therefore, by running both Double Attack and Conquering Iron Hoof, you guarantee that Belisarius' signature skill will always trigger Conquering Iron Hoof every 3 signature skill activations, maximizing your damage potential. For Elizabeth, we'll pick our new customizable skill, Tudor Rose. It provides a 20% damage reduction buff and increases your commander's damage dealt by 5% every time Assimilation is triggered, which effectively means once per turn since it looks like normal attacks trigger Assimilation. We'll also pick Crushing Impact for its damage and for the big might debuff it applies onto its enemies. If you're short on scrolls or skill tokens, you can also equip Sowing Discord here. For Ashoka, and because we're playing an Openfield build, we'll equip Roar of Victory to help Belisarius activate his commander skill faster, and we'll pick Act of Mercy for additional damage. I definitely upgrade Belisarius' skills as a top priority, followed by Tudor Rose from Elizabeth. Ashoka's skills are not a priority at all. When it comes to rings, we have plenty of choice. I personally enjoy Lofty Mountain a lot, since it provides damage reduction to might damage for the first 18 seconds of the fight, something that is very valuable since our lineup is strategy based. It then provides a damage buff past 18 seconds. Our ring scales both with both armor and strategy, so we'll equip it on our Belisarius for now, since he has higher armor and strategy than our Ashoka. For Elizabeth, we'll take Ring of Falcon. This ring has a chance every 9 seconds to increase our damage reduction or provide a small heal. While the healing effect itself will be nullified due to Elizabeth's passive signature skill, which disables external healing, this is not what we're after. The real value comes from the ring's passive bonus, which increases all healing effects by up to 15%. Since Assimilation is considered as healing, it is buffed by Ring of Falcon's healing effect bonus. This is also true for gems that increase healing. As a third and final ring, you can equip Tranquil Water, an amazing open field ring that will give you damage reduction against all types of damage for 18 seconds, which fits perfectly with Belisarius' burst style. If you're a whale looking for a more offensive build, you can also opt for Ever Flame Wings instead of Tranquil Water. This ring passively increases your troops' overall damage, increases the strategy damage taken by the enemy, and more importantly, has a chance to inflict the silence effect. Belisarius, being a pike hero, is naturally countered by swordsmen like Miyamoto, Ramses or King Arthur, who all rely on active skills. That extra chance to apply the silence effect can therefore be a great asset to neutralize enemy swordsmen looking to counter you. Be advised though that I would not recommend this ring unless you can make it minimum level 20. If you're looking for a well-rounded build that is less costly and that can also fit in rallies, I would advise you to get Ring of Clover as a third ring for a more defensive setup, or Ring of Deer for a more offensive one. Ring of Deer's passive is great and passively increases both health and commander damage, something that's useful in any situation. Let's now see what we can play in rally-specific situations with Ashoka. The heroes used in our rally setups are exactly the same for now. There's very little difference for this lineup between rally and Openfield, so we'll mostly change some rings that work well or better in rallies depending on your spending. Our first setup is exactly like the previous Openfield build with a single difference. We swap Rover of Victory on Ashoka for weak spot attack because Rover of Victory's rage generation is useless in rally situations. We continue using Lofty Mountain and Ring of Falcon on Belisarius and Elizabeth respectively, as those scale very well in rallies. For Ashoka, the choice between Ring of Clover and Ring of Deer depends on what you have available, and what is your preferred playstyle, as discussed earlier. I personally enjoy the setup with Ring of Clover a lot, but since this ring is often used in other lineups, Ring of Deer makes a great low-cost but efficient replacement. If you are well, you can consider equipping Azure Moon on Belisarius for additional damage in rally scenarios. Rally battles tend to last longer and you're less likely to have the charging state interrupted, which means you will benefit from this ring's damage more than in Openfield. More importantly, this ring gives a flat skill damage increase, which is good for our commander's damage output. We keep Lofty Mountain and place it on Ashoka, since Belisarius now holds Azure Moon. I would not advise taking Azure Moon unless you can make it minimum level 20. Like I said, very little difference with the offensive build aside from a few changes here and there. That's pretty much it for Ashoka with Tactician Pikemen for this season. Let's now see an alternative build which you can play if you have Octavian. This setup is a bit more free-to-play friendly as Octavian is obtainable through Season 2's legendary Advent Wheel. However, he still needs to be at least 3 stars, ideally 5 stars, to work well in this combination. Octavian is a great third hero here to make the most out of Elizabeth's passive damage boost and lifesteal. Why else does Octavian fit in this team? Let's have a look at his signature skill. Might of Ruler is a turn-based signature skill that will deal moderate damage every 6 seconds. But what's really interesting for us is the second part of his signature skill, the Supreme Mark stacks. Every time a hero in your army activates a turn-based or secondary strike signature skill, you generate 1 stack of Supreme Mark. Once you reach 8 stacks, they are consumed to grant your army a 30% damage boost for 9 long seconds. This synergy is particularly strong with Belisarius since his signature skill is a secondary strike, helping Octavian build stacks quickly. This setup is especially effective in rally scenarios where battles last long enough to consistently generate these stacks, something you will most likely lack in Openfield, which is why I do not recommend this build for Openfield. It's also worth emphasizing that 30% of damage increase for 9 seconds is a very powerful buff. Octavian's ranks upgrade his signature skill. His first rank is honestly negligible in our case, since it increases skill damage by 25%. His third rank is where things get interesting, as the damage buff granted once you reach 8 stacks of Supreme Mark is doubled from 30 to 60%. Finally, his 5th rank is the cherry on top. It increases the damage buff by another 40%, bringing it to a massive 100% and extends its duration from 9 to 12 seconds. This creates an extremely powerful team-wide damage boost that can quickly be renewed in rallies thanks to Belisarius' signature skill high activation chance. When it comes to customizable skills, we'll keep the same setup for both Belisarius and Elizabeth as in previous builds. For Octavian, we'll play with Kingsblade to bring both DPS and damage buff to the team, and we'll pick triple offensive. This skill is interesting as it has a chance to either deal damage or increase the enemy damage taken by 32%, which is a massive debuff. This makes it a powerful asset in rally setups. The fights are longer, so you have more chances to apply this particular debuff over time. As a priority, I'd upgrade Belisarius' skills, then Tudor Rose from Elizabeth, and finally triple offensive from Octavian. If you're on a lower budget, you can also take Sowing Discord instead of Crushing Impact and upgrade it. For rings, we'll keep Lofty Mountain and Ring of Falcon, and for the third slot, we can equip Ring of Deer. It fits this setup well, offering a 2 out of 3 chances to buff one of your DPS heroes, while also applying a debuff to a random enemy. Not to mention, its passive commander damage buff is very valuable. If you are well and happen to have Azurmoon level 20 or 30 plus, it becomes a reasonable alternative thanks to its DPS and flat scale damage increase, but if you don't have it already, it's probably better to stick with a more generic and accessible choice, such as Ring of Deer. Other than that, any choice previously mentioned in rally builds can also fit here, most notably Ring of Clover. Octavian is a great choice if you don't have Ashoka and don't want to push 2 MGEs to unlock both him and Elizabeth. Be aware though that, like I had previously mentioned, this setup works well in rallies but struggles in Openfield as the fights are usually too short to benefit from Octavian's signature skill. As always, let's have a final note for gems and talent trees. For Belisarius, we'll use gems that increase strategy, secondary strike damage and health, or attack up can also be a good choice if you plan to play in rallies. For Elizabeth, we'll go for strategy, healing up and health or attack up gems. For Ashoka, we'll use gems that increase all attributes, secondary strike damage and health or attack. For Octavian, we'll take might, turn-based damage and health or attack. Before ending this video, here are the talent trees I run for the heroes mentioned in this video. Have fun with these new Tactician Pikemen, just try to avoid Warrior Swordsmen as they can hurt you pretty bad if built correctly. If you enjoyed this guide, feel free to subscribe, leave a like and a comment. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer you. Feel free to join my Discord server where we share advice about AoEM. The community is fairly active too if you need anything AoEM related. The link's in the description. Bye everyone and see you soon.
Start the pot, lay the steel, spear sharpened and real. Belisarius rides and with tactical zeal. Last Roman they said, but he's cooking again. Piercing the field with his double-edged pen. His flag flies fast and the eagle strikes true. 2 foes to 1, he'll slice right through. With iron hoof stomping and eagles resolve. A burst of old Rome that problems can't solve. Roast them with strikes, with strategy spice. Belisarius serves, not once but twice. At Elizabeth's charm and Ashoka's flame, this pike party's wild and we're changing the game. From heel to hurt, from sneak to spear, get out the kitchen if you can't take fear. Here comes the queen with the crown so gold. She bans your healers, too bad, too bold. Assimilate this, she calmly replies while buffing our troops and dropping